Hello folks, how y'all doing today? Now, today folks, I'm going to do a little reading, but first I want to get a couple of comments and other such out the way. A certain set of people have begun to harp and complain and whine and kvetch about the quality of the presentations. Here's what I advise to them. Make your own how you want them. Okay? Excellent. And with that, I'm going to go to the reading for today, which is an essay I've written. It's long and it's probably going to be rather boring for some of you. So, it is called Multicultural Exceptionalism. Multicultural Exceptionalism. Go with Lot or stay with this crowd. Lately, we have encountered a great number of people among the nominal American right who behave as an article of faith that the American economic, political, and social system of the founders, they don't really know what that means, will last forever because it is exceptional. They have taken the rhetoric about a government of all the ages to mean some real thing in time-space. It is surely optimistic, that is true, but as a ruling worldview, it is dangerous because it takes statecraft out of the realm of day-to-day existence and into some ideal space where perfection was already known before action was undertaken. It becomes highly self-fulfilling. Nostalgia falls prey to repackaging for dishonest ends in this modern age. The founders are, on the one hand, degraded as pale white males, then resold to us as inclusive, tolerant hippies who would have fought racism right with Martin Luther King, accepted homosexuals right there with Harvey Milk, suffrage, marched for the women's votes, and might even went so far, if they had thought about it, to include pederasty as a right. Shirley was a scout leader among the founders. The fact is that the treasonous, rootless elite in Washington, D.C., the dual capitals of modern America, who control this repackaging for dishonest ends, those elites who promote sodomy, feminism, diversity, tolerance, materialism, atheism, and every other form of degeneracy, are destroying the white majority, its values, its heritage, its pride, its hold over the USA, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. Slowly but surely, like frogs, we, the Western European white people of the world, are being boiled into a Babylonian tolerant diversity soup. This is unacceptable. Matter of fact, to notice, object, or complain, according to the elite, is to be racist and backwards. This again according to the death cult script, which will then affirm our dropping from 90+% white in 1964, us being America, to 64% white. That's real whites, not Latino colored people who are legally white, but real European whites. In 2016, it's just a natural fact. That has absolutely nothing to do with mass immigration of non-whites, the promotion of diversity and tolerance, welfare, affirmative action, corruption, nepotism, insiderism, and the elevation of victimhood of all of this litany of people who are non-white, non-male, non-Christian to some saintly status. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just natural. Yeah, you betcha. However, our lying eyes insist, upon noticing the American people, the real American people, being slowly, surely, and systemically replaced by hordes of barbarians. Yeah, they do. Everywhere I go, I see it. We see with our eyes that the elite slow up when they have to, in order to keep us in the melting pot, to keep us paying for the destruction of ourselves. But surely they intend to systemically replace the majority with minorities such that no one group is a majority. Oh, rest assured, the two-party fraud, the media and the rest will lie about it until they have done the deed, but the GOP intend for it to be as I say, even though they waffle and hide this fact. The left openly proclaim that it is its will, and the lamestream right, that is the GOP, is never far behind in outright toadying to the left's will. Rest assured, among the elite, it's all a done deal. They want Babylonian soup. Since the left is mommy moneylenders favorite. That's it. The game is divide et imperium. We Americans are born being fed nonsense about guilt and exceptionalism in turns by the media and more generally in society at large. So we will and can be kept helpless as the elite extract us to pay themselves for the treason they commit against us. It is exceptional that no major media or political talking head addresses this fact. The fact that the two parties are beholden to the same big money, the same big business interests. Those big interests and big money truly rule from behind the facade of elections and party politics. Those are a game, a rigged game at that. Thus, the assertion that America, as it currently stands, is exceptional in some way is true only in the sense that real Americans, actual Americans, are exceptionally senseless about the outside world, about the powers behind the throne, and about the forces which shape their internal reality. Though we wager once the false idol of the free market wants and fails, the vaunted golden cap will be melted down, and the angry mob will be holding down the elite. Then there will be an exceptional amount of upset, great wailing and gnashing, among the said elite. At this point, when the cap finally falls and the headstrong imbeciles have to come back to reality, many of these headstrong will become the most ardent realists. They will have been exceptionalists, now they will be realists. The fact is that their beliefs are based upon very fragile foundations, like a house of cards. The first is that mere money can rule the world. No, this is false. The second is that money can The second is that military force can police the whole world. Pax Americana. No, again, false. The third is that the status quo, the hanging in air that sort of happened in 1989 with the fall of the Berlin Wall, would magically last forever, and the USA will be the only superpower for the foreseeable future. And from these follows the fatal assumption 4. The moral right that the elite of the American bigwigs has assumed to use force wherever they wish, however they wish, upon whomever they wish, and they will fabricate a reason. They do this as if they were the mother, the hegemon, the wife of these people. Take your pick. Now, the first little foundation is the all ages myth. All things have an end. It is how they end that matters to us, those that will inherit a new start after that ending, since every ending is a new start as well in the general order of natural life. The second foundation is a fool's errand, and only an armchair warrior could even dream up such a stupid concept. That's point blank. The third neglects the effects of time upon all things political and upon the general drift in the order of things human. And the fourth will only ensure that this stupid cycle we've been at since about the Korean War of fighting barbarians, importing barbarians, exporting jobs, increasing the dole, more wars, continues until the USA falls under the weight of multiculture and political correctness, as well as stupidity and imbecility, but we're not going to discuss that now. Now, cold empirical reality is that all man-made constructs have a start, a middle, and an end. Nothing built by the hand of man lasts forever. Nothing. Now, back in the land of fact, American world dominance is and was based upon a specific set of historical particulars that allowed for a certain time a few select American elite to become extremely wealthy and powerful. However, those historical particulars are fading away, and the power of the system's elite fade with it. Europe is no longer their loyal vassal, and Russia, China, and others have risen to challenge their right, quote unquote, to police, i.e., rule the world. The dollar is in collapse, and the homeland is in disarray. Multiculturalism is a sickness killing our nation. Internally, here in America, the situation is very fragile and frankly not long-term sustainable. The current reality is that America is largely split into three zones of living. They overlap, to be sure, but they can be viewed as distinct units of the common patchwork. A largely rural, semi-rural, agricultural, and resource extraction economy. This is mostly the white majority, but there are some amount of immigrant migrants and others of foreign extraction in this sector as well. These folks work, when it is available, largely for just above the federal poverty level of $14K for a single person and $28K for a family of four. A suburban bloc who are more or less diverse in origin and income, but tend to hover between about 18 and 60 for individuals and about double that for families. Now, it should be noted that this rural and suburban populations, the majority whites in them, are pitted against each other in all sorts of little games, the media, the academics play, classism, and the rest. And lastly, there's an urban society with an economy based around the resources of the first two that largely is based itself around services provided by imports and, again, the rural, suburban economic power and manpower, with very few gainfully employed people, since most of the people there, again, are government and administrative officials who are as on the dole as any welfare recipients. Now, the demographics of this division leave it such that the majority are largely in the rural and suburban areas and in a few tight ethnic enclaves among the urban areas. These areas pay most of the taxes and provide most of the useful goods and services, work, repair infrastructure, and the rest. This is structural. The majority is, in effect, the workhorse of the system. The two parties' political power is dependent upon its ability to provide material goodies to those on the dole. Public employee unions and household corporate welfare, warfare welfare is a big one, being the main handouts provided, but there are a lot of others, a whole litany, that have been invented to smooth over the unrest, the economic and social unrest caused by the loss of jobs, the export of factories, the destruction of communities, and the shattered hopes for many suburban and rural folks, including also for the urban ghettos, which are fully dependent upon the dole. Now, the power to provide goodies this elite has is dependent ultimately upon the petrodollar and the reserve currency status of the American dollar. If the power of the dollar as a world reserve currency that allows the elite to import the trinkets were to go away, they would fall from the top of the teetering heap that is multiculturalism and political correctness. Now, the petrodollar is dependent in part, but not fully, upon the stability of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, a very precariously balanced entity. It's not even a country. And the value of the oil is going onto the rocks. If the dollar loses its reserve status, or the arrangement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia were come to an abrupt end, the entire material basis for the urban goody society to be able to import the goods with which it buys power ends. All of its values come crashing down, and hard and fast. This is not exactly a bad thing. Yes, it would be a bit like a surgery, painful, but necessary. Needed and yet not fully wanted, it must be accommodated. The fact is that majority white America, that is real America, must survive. And for it to survive, the empire and its entanglements have to go away and stay away. The multicultural, politically correct limb must be amputated so that the American trunk can survive. The dollar as the reserve currency, coupled to the petrodollar, is what allows for all the junk to be imported from China, Vietnam, and the other sweatshop nations we work with, protect, and otherwise use as an outsourced labor pool. In effect, those nations are used as scabs to run down the white man's wages, and in the end, this negatively affects the standard of living of his familial household and of his community. But for now, the imperial largeness gained from this rip-off deal allows them to temporarily keep the buffoonish, childish behavior of the American urban masses, the ghetto masses, and allows this to not have serious repercussions because they can be kept under control, fed, and otherwise kept dumb and stupid. But This wealth cushion, which allows minorities and poor in the USA and first world to live better than many in the minorities' lands of origin have ever lived in all human history without white racism and oppression paying their way. This wealth cushion, which if gone, would become apparent by the cessation of handouts to the inner city and the quick, certain implosion of the Potemkin cities that are the modern PC diversity ghetto communities among us. The more homogenous and majority-dominated communities would organize and survive. And finally, this largeness, this dollar control, is what allows the nominally American elite to dominate the third world militarily, economically, politically, and extract resources, which in the end results in more poor peasants from the third world who come here thinking we owe them, more people go in the dole, more money is spent on free trade with these sweatshop nations, and more buffoonish behavior results, leading to further welfare, further warfare, then free trade, then more poor peasants. Let us cease this death march of the white majority by seriously thinking about how to end ourselves the power of this abstract entity, the petrodollar, over our lives. How does one become independent of petroleum and dollars? By gaining one's own resource of petroleum. Why not convert coal into liquid fuel or any one of a number of thousands of other options available? And dollars, it seems to me that if we were to realize that dollars are really just an accounting exchange mechanism that we could use amongst many, many other exchange mechanisms, why not look seriously into something like a modern tally stick or some other interest-free exchange system? And while we're there, why not realistically assess the power that end running our own dollar and destroying it as a world currency gives us? Since the power to destroy, antiquate, replicate, or replace a thing is much more important than the mere control of anything itself. End run it and make it irrelevant. Let us talk about the lack of sense in sending our manufacturing away and willy-nilly using our massive and abundant natural resources while our people are so obviously in economic and social decline, needing in jobs and wanting for stable incomes. Okay? Oh, and why not, while we're there, why not, retool, refit, rebuild factories and manufacturers here with citizen labor at good wages and decent benefits. Citizens with money equals demand. Employment is the most productive and honest way to ensure money is in pockets, thus to square the circle to build manufacturers and other industry here to provide jobs and supply the demand of goods, a demand that ideally would be supported by domestic manufacturers employing citizens, not illegals. Citizens, not illegals. Now, this will decrease our dependency upon foreign suppliers. And it will, lastly, allow loyal citizens to disarm the economic power of the trader elite. Then our work builds upon our work upon our work. Just maybe then America will be exceptional again. Until then, it is simply sick with diversity, tolerance, multicultural, and political correctness. It is a sick entity that needs taken off the petrodollar lifeline. A little Darwinian struggle needs to ensue. There is nothing exceptional about unemployment, ghettos, dope, lazy, fat, useless, needy people, or any of the other things the multicultural, politically correct experiment has wrought in its wake. Nothing. What would be exceptional? Deporting the world from our shores, for a start. Diversity is effluence, not exceptional. Tolerance is evisceration, not excellence. We have the ability to choose who lives with us and who goes away. It is merely a matter of using an exceptional act of will to push multiculturalism into the sea, away from thee. Then proceeding by a further extension of that will to employ all our loyal, dutiful, honest, hardworking citizens at living wages with decent housing, education, and health care provided for their children and families. That would be exceptional. Letting honest citizens be and not taxing them to death to pay for idiotic schemes that simply don't work and streamlining the schemes that do work so they work better. That would make us truly exceptional and wise. Rebuilding our infrastructure, manufacturers, and communities generally. That would be exceptional, wise, and frugal. Even almost thoughtful. Minding our own business behind our Navy and our nuclear shield, while the world eats its own tail. Strong, confident, wise, able, and sensible. That would be exceptional, truly exceptional. But you don't want to be the biggest, most exceptional thing? Is if we could just be a people who cared about our own people fully, first and foremost. That would be exceptional.